Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Today we continue our Ableton Live series right here at BusyWorksBeats.com. And we're in Ableton Live 12 today. I'm going to show you how to make a trap beat in Ableton Live 12. You will get the project files in case that I go too fast or miss something. So firstly, in the top left of Ableton Live, we can open up the browser. Here's where we load up our sound. So let's click on the MIDI track over here. We're going to scroll down until where we see packs. And then we're going to go all the way to the bottom where it says available packs. Make sure you download your favorite packs. My favorites are Trap Drums by Sound Oracle, the Orchestral Packs, Grand Piano Pack, there's a guitar and bass pack that's really good, and Golden Era Hip Hop Drums by Sound Oracle. So there's a ton of packs. Those are the ones I have downloaded. Today we're going to go to the Trap Drums by Sound Oracle. We're going to go to where it says click on that, and then we're going to go to the folder that says samples. We're going to go to where it says one shots, and then go to where it says hi-hats, and this is where we're going to start today. So just double click on your hi-hat to load it up. You can play with your typing keyboard with this little icon right here. It's a little typing keyboard icon. If you guys want to play stuff by hand. So what we can do now is just double click, just highlight, okay? Or just double click to create a MIDI pattern. So let's left click and drag this up. So what we're gonna use is the new generate tool. Let's go to generate. Let's switch this tab to where it says rhythm, okay? And then we're gonna set the steps and the pattern. So we're gonna set it to, let's switch this to 100 to 100. So if you notice these blue numbers here, we're gonna set that to 100 and 100. Long story short, it's going to make the accent notes have the same velocity as regular notes, so it doesn't go like we just want it to be even. Okay, now we're going to select density. So if I hit play, let's go all the way back actually. Let me make sure we're actually looped up. So let's switch this on loop mode so we could have this on loop. And then, okay, so right now you're like, why is it playing a low pitched sound? It's because it's set to the wrong octave. So let's left click and drag this up. So now we're going to select pitch and pull this up to C3, or you could just manually just hit Control A and pull all your notes up. It might be easier to do it that way instead of just doing it that way. Okay, so you might not notice this, but in Ableton, that's different from FL. They have these little play things. Now, in FL, it will just keep playing, but in Ableton, you got to make sure that these are fully on the left and fully on the right, or else it won't play the MIDI. Very quirky for people coming from FL, but just make sure these little tiny triangles are all the way to the left and right. Let's select the length here and let's pull this up to, let's say, 4 bars. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so you see how it has this little triangle right here? We're going to pull that all the way out to 4 bars. Okay, and let's do this one more time. So now it's going to generate in that range as opposed to like a smaller range. So that's something that I had to get used to as an FL Studio user. And again, we have to pull it to middle C. And let's change the time here to, let's switch the tempo in the top left to 140 BPM. Just type in 140, turn on your metronome here. And okay, now we need to go back and make sure the loop is actually dragged out for 4 bars. So it is a little tedious coming from FL because FL makes it very easy, but you got to do extra steps here. So in Ableton, we're going to left click, drag this all the way out, and then left click the loop point, drag it all the way out. Okay, so now it plays the entire thing. So hopefully you learned a lot in that little bit, but those are the differences from FL to Ableton. So let's say we wanted to go a little bit faster, like let's go to 1/16. So I'm just left clicking that. That's our normal kind of FL Studio pattern. Okay, so I'm playing that just so you guys can hear it. And again, we're going to have the range of velocity set to 100 to 100 so that we're not using accent notes. So if you ever mess up, you could hit Control A, pull up this little bar, and then pull all your velocities up and then pull them back down. That will reset any velocity offsets that you may have. Okay, so it keeps everything linear in this case. Okay, so let's say you want to create a hi-hat roll. Let's turn the metronome back on. So let's do 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2. Okay, so right here, you want a hi-hat roll. Let's drag that out. And let's select the step duration. And we're going to switch the step duration to something smaller, like 1/32. Okay, so we'll chop those notes up. Let's do it. I don't know if my head's in the way, so let's highlight this last note. Do the same thing, change the step duration here. So let's say you want to add more hi-hat rolls. So I want this one to be a roll. Let's drag that out. highlight the note, and then mess with the step duration again. Okay, so I'm just gonna mess with a couple of these other ones, but not chop them up as finely. Just keep messing with your flavor. It's the cool thing, we could chop them up in triplets and quarter timings based off of the step direction. So it definitely helps. Okay, so now we have our hi-hats. Let's go back to the edit window and let's start doing stuff. Okay, so now we have the hi-hats. We're just gonna keep that on loop. Now let's pick out some music. So let's go to the browser. Let's click on the second MIDI track and let's go to where it says packs. Let's go to our guitar and bass pack. I like always mix these up. Let's go to sounds and let's go to guitar clean and let's load up the guitar open just by double clicking. Now we can create some guitar melody. So let's right click where it's highlighted. Again, you can left click to highlight, right click, insert empty MIDI clip. So it's the full length, double click. Left click, drag that up. So I don't know why the piano roll looks like 1,000 notes. That is impossible to write music that way. So let's zoom in with the zoom tool. I like to turn this headset on. Okay. And the new feature here is we can set a scale. So let's set this scale to E and let's do E minor, for example. So now it will highlight all the E minor notes purple for you. So now we're going to start at E. Let's go down an octave. Hit shift down to go down an octave. So firstly, let's get the bass tone, B-A-S-E tone set. So really this is a C major add 9 chord. We're just playing the notes out spread apart. C, E, G is C major, and then G to D is a fifth. So a fifth of a fifth is a ninth. And long story short, that makes the C major add 9 chord. So you're really playing a chord to spread out. Let's add some notes up top. Okay, so now I'm just gonna you could hit B to like click the notes in. Might be a little more intuitive for FL folks. So I'm going to drag these notes out so they overlap a little bit more. Then we're going to use a half step. My head might be in the way, okay? So the half step's just going to drag like that. So what we're going to do is use that note D instead of the other note D, so it doesn't sound like it's just playing twice. So notice we have this dun, 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 and this kind of rides out. Okay, we're not adding 1,000 more notes in here. Very simple. And you can also drag these top notes out for more texture. See how it becomes very empty when you don't have the notes overlapping? good guitar loop. So if any of those notes are, too loud, you could just click on them and just turn the velocity down. There's also a new tool called Humanize. You could turn that on and turn this up to change the timing of the note so it sounds more human. And it doesn't mess with the velocity, just the timing. So what I also do is use what's called deviation, so that every time it plays, it will play a new velocity in this specific range. So if you pull this down, it will play the velocity from 32 velocity all the way up to 100. So it sounds more organic. Let's pull back the humanize just a little bit so we don't sound unquantized. All right, Control U is going to quantize. Okay, so now we can go in and add effects, or we could print this to audio and just start messing with stuff. So let's pull this down. Now we have our general musical canvas. So I'm going to let this loop just so you guys can hear the different velocities it chooses each time. I'm going to add some effects here. You just click, my head's in the way, but if you click in the bottom right where it says guitar open, you can load up your devices here, your audio effects tab. And let's open up the browser and start finding some effects, audio effects. Let's add some delay. Turn down the dry level. Now, actually, before I go to delay, let's add the amp. I like mine on clean or blues. Those are really good. Let's double click on cabinet. I like to switch mine to a dynamic mic. It pulls in more bass. Switches to dual output. You can select the speaker size. Okay, so now we're just going to add some effects like chorus, delay. There's no right or wrong effects after this point, so we're just going to add chorus. And then delay and reverb. Now you might ask, why don't we use the sends for this? Because sometimes I want to blend the effect directly on the sound. I don't want to send it as a duplicate. I want it to be like washed out. Okay, let's add reverb. So again, you will get the project files. I know I'm skipping over a lot of the how-to here, but really we're just clicking presets here. So now it's more washed out. We could pull up the wet level here to push that guitar back a little bit. And now it has an emotion to it. So it's a little bit off time because of what reverb is. It delays the sound for the most part. So what we can do now is open up an audio track. Mine's already set to audio, but you could right click here, insert audio track. Okay, and I believe actually we don't even need to do that. We could just right click. Now what I'm going to do before I show you all this is right click and duplicate this track so it is a backup. We're going to mute the one so it's not on. For the second one, we're going to right click and freeze and flatten the track. Before you would have to do all this stuff to do it, but now you could just freeze and flatten the track. Okay, so now we have this. We could delete the excess, and now you can double click and mess with the audio. So now we just converted MIDI to audio, and audio in trap is very important because we can make it do cool stuff. So what you're going to do is double click on it, make sure warp mode is on, and then you're going to select these different types. Okay, so there's beats, tones, texture, repitch. Just mess with each one to find the one you like. There's no right one. Okay, so we're going to mess with transients. This is called forward and backward looping. You could also make it go in double time by hitting ×2. And now you're going to hear a lot of the forward backwardness. And you could switch where you want the actual chops to happen. So instead of the transients, let's set it to like 1/8. Let's try 1/4 actually. You could also do forward. So it's like a chop, like FL's fruity slicer. It's divided by 2. You could also do forward looping. So different options for different sounds. There's also texture mode, which has a granulizer. Again, you really don't hear this until you start making the sample longer. Let's go to repitch. So if you change the tempo, we'll change the pitch. I like this. This feels right. You could also reverse the sample, hitting reverse right here. Now we need to go back to the hi-hats and potentially pitch them down. So let's click on our hi-hat. Go to controls and then pitch this down under transpose. So now it matches the tone of that guitar better. So we have the rhythm and we have the melody. So all we need at this point is just drums. I'm gonna open up a new MIDI track, just right click, insert MIDI track. My head might be in the way, so bear with my head being on that side. I'm gonna turn off my mic because I think we have landscapers out there today. Great. Okay, so it's always something, yo. Okay, so now let's go to the packs and let's go to where it says Trap Drums by Sound Oracle. He has pre-made packs. I'm just gonna load up his drum packs here and just double click on his different kits. Okay, so let's load these up. I'm gonna mute my mic in the meantime. All right, now we have drums. Now we can go in. We can right click, insert. I like to write my drums in MIDI. Some people like to drag and drop drums. It's just not my thing for hip hop. But we can insert MIDI. And now double click to go inside. And I like the left click, make my piano roll bigger. And now you could just treat this like a sequencer. So always make sure these little arrows are all the way to the left and all the way to the right. Because if they're not, it won't play notes. And you're like wondering why your drums aren't making a sound. Okay, so let me turn off my mic because it sounds like the lawnmower is getting closer and closer. To smash the like button before the lawnmower gets here. So we're going to put the snare on the 3. So if you listen to the metronome, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So put the snares on the 3 and the 7 count. You can always swap that kick out for a different kick. I'm going to go inside the actual editor and we're going to work on this kick to make it a little bit thumpy. He also has these different things over here like drive, if you want the drums to hit a little bit harder. nice bounce. Now let's find an 808. We're gonna load up another MIDI track here. And I'm trying to do this before the landscaper gets to the mic. So let's smash that like button before he gets here. If you made it to this part of the video, the landscapers have beat you to it. So smash the like button as a way to repay them for beating you to it. All right, so firstly, we need to load up an 808. There are 808s in sound packs over here, but I like to use my own 808s for my own hard drive. So let's go to my folder where I keep all my 808s. You guys will get the project file, so don't try to memorize all this. But in our Discord, we have a ton of sounds and a ton of drum kits for free. So what we're gonna do is we have our kick and snare. We need to insert a new MIDI track, okay, and then drag that up. Just right click over here on the right side and then insert a new MIDI track, okay? You might not be able to see because of my head. So let's click on the new MIDI track. Let's load up what's called the Spins 808 from the Metro Boomin kit. We're gonna go to our 808s and scroll all the way down until we see Spins. There's so many 808s in here. Spins 808, here's the one. So what we wanna do is just double click this to load it up. So we could play it by hand, but it's a little hard to hear, so let's... So I'm going to play this by hand. It's just easier. Let's record it. So I'm just going to double click in here, change this one note because I clicked the wrong note. Grab this, pull it up. So now I'm going to hit B to get rid of that. And let's hit Control U to quantize. So see how we don't hear that first note anymore? Make sure your play button thing is all the way to the left or else that won't play. Pretty simple bass line, nothing wild there. We could pull it down an octave, but it's not very tonal to where we could hear it. So let's crank up the volume. If we can't hear it, then we're just going to pull it back up an octave. So let's say you want to fill these gaps. So if you see a gap, you can click here and then click legato. It will fill that gap. So there's a new plugin called Roar that it sounds really good on 808s. We could use it on the whole track, but let's go to audio effects and let's scroll down to where it says Roar. This is really good for 808s. So just mess with this. There's too many knobs to go through everything right now. So what I'll do is I'll just crank up the amount. Now for this sound, because it fits better dull than bright, we're gonna leave it, but you can mess with roar to get the settings you want. Just gonna turn up the volume here. Now you have your first trap beat. What we're gonna do is arrange this a little bit. We're not gonna make a 7-minute beat here. So we're just gonna drag it to 8 bars. Let's highlight all this right here. Hit Control D to latch paste. And basically I'm just gonna turn off the 808s in the beginning. Maybe the drums too, but. Now remember, 8 bars at 140 tempo is really half that. So let's double this again. Control D. And drag this out to 16 bars. So now we have 8 bars. Before we only had 4 bars. So if your beats feel stuck and they feel like they can't build up into anything, it's probably because you don't have enough stuff. Okay, let's go all the way back. So again, I'm going to go to the main or the master, and we could mess with these effects here. I'm just going to throw in a couple effects for you, but they're not mandatory. So roar is one of my favorite ones now, and it just adds a nice density to the track. So again, for this sound, it's the 808 and the kick are overlapping. There's too much mixing that I would have to teach you at a beginner level. It will make it way more complicated, but I'll just leave the effects off for now. Let's add a limiter to the master. All right, we won't make this video any longer. If you want these project files for free, just go to busyworksbeats.com, go to the top of the website where it says free downloads. And once you log in, you can see the whole downloads section. We have Ableton projects, FL projects, sounds, a bunch of stuff in there, presets, etc., etc. So I'll put this in the Ableton Live 12 directory. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you're new and like the video. Peace.